Mic check.
We're going live. So I'm gonna get the show running. Yo, what's up, family?
What's going on? What's going on?
Hope everyone is well in the ADOS media platform and out there in the world today. We have We have a wonderful guest on our platform, and we really appreciate his time.
Stay ready.
So before we introduce our guest here, I wanted to ask Kim how the wonderful Queen is doing. Oh, well, before we ask Kim how the wonderful Queen is doing, let's see what's our next topic. AB 3121 Task Force discussion with Maureen and Tiffany. That's coming up this Tuesday, 12/1. So definitely be in the building. That will be a call-in show. So you'll have a chance to ask any questions to our guests, Maureen and Tiffany.
All right,
So,
and
as
as
I was
far
saying,
as
how you
how
doing,
I'm doing, I'm staying pretty busy with ADOS CA Media. Been burning it up through this holiday season, and I'm certainly looking forward to the topic today on the Second Amendment.
All right. So let's I guess get right into it. Let's introduce our fellow brother from another mother, CitizenEdge. How you doing, family?
Doing all right. Appreciate the opportunity, everybody. Good evening. Great to talk about this subject that's vital to our situation and to our framework of society.
All right, so you want to give the listeners a little bit of background in terms of how you came about doing what you're doing?
Well, CitizenEdge YouTube channel discussing Black issues and the Second Amendment, providing advice and experience that I have gained and sharing with everyone. So just some insight towards some information that can make every person's day better. But I came about doing this during the pandemic. A lot of time was freed up. So I started my YouTube channel around April, right when the first wave came about. And like I said, it provided some time for me to look at things in another direction, look forward to other interests that I had. And it was definitely guns and Black issues. So here I am.
Okay. All right. Probably at the end of the show, we're probably going to ask you some more questions after the presentation. So I guess let's get into it, shall we? All right, so the topics today, we're going to talk about the Black Panther Party, the Mulford Act, how to acquire a gun in California, how to conceal or use your concealed carry permits, gun laws, in particular the Penal Code 32310. And then afterwards, we're going to have a Q&A session for any of our listeners out there in the YouTube world.
All right, so we're starting with the Black Panthers. Let's see. NRA's rigid opposition to gun control in today's America. The organization fought alongside the government for stricter gun regulations in the 1960s. This was part of an effort to keep guns out of the hands of African Americans as racial tensions in the nation grew. The NRA felt especially threatened by the Black Panthers, whose well-photographed carrying of weapons in public spaces was entirely legal in the state of California, where they were based.
All right, so CitizenEdge, what's your thoughts on this in terms of, in particular, I know the Black Panther Party, but can you give us some context, historical context in terms of the Black Panther Party, guns, and then I guess bring it up to modern times and how that particular Black Panther Party movement has affected America in general and specifically ADOS or African Americans, Black people in America?
Well, Black Panther Party, it was a phenomenal organization. But of course, who their focus was community and the preservation of African American life, peace of mind. And it's funny because the attacks on the Black Panther Party, it's contradictory to the Second Amendment within itself. If you go back and see what the Second Amendment states, it says literally, well-being, a well-organized militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So the idea that if you look at Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton, of course, was the face of it for the most part, being the Minister of Defense. And it goes in the same line with what the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, which the Second Amendment is upon. It protects the individual. And in order for it to be a free state, people will brush upon the Second Amendment, the literal meaning of it, the statement of it, like it's something that's mumbled upon, that's, robotic. But if you look at their own jargon, a well-organized militia being necessary to the security of a free state, they started with just that. They understood that they were up against an idea, a people who did not want for them to be free, safe, to have any type of power or recognition. And they impeded upon that by abusing us physically, by subjecting us to conditions that didn't allow for us to have that sense of a lifestyle, which was coming naturally to non-blacks or non-ADOS. So the Black Panther Party is misconstrued as some type of violent militia But that was just one aspect of it. It was a necessary aspect of it. Once again, referring back to the Second Amendment, it is necessary. But their entire idea was giving back to the community. They literally had programs to feed children, school-aged children. They were giving, screening adults for literacy, education, screening for tuberculosis, and eventually the HIV and AIDS epidemic as that came on. So the individuals, as one could read into it, Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seale, you had a number of individuals who, in their individual own right, had amazing stories. Huey P. Newton had a bachelor's and a master's degree. He actually had a phenomenal story that ended dramatically. This individual who also next to Bobby Seale, they had amazing stories within their own right. Who present day, we could look for individuals who are not parallel to their accomplishments. But not only they ran for mayor, they ran for Senate and for the presidency. You don't see that type of phenomenon today, that type of leadership. And of course they have the so-called dark side where they had different confrontations with police shootouts actually, different individuals and other factions in Illinois, Mark Clark, those people who died at a young age, 21 and 22. It's dramatic. It's sad. When I look back on it, these were amazing individuals, people gone too soon. But what we can learn from that is that they were multifaceted. They not only had intellect, but they had this type of grit, this leadership that was necessary when they're being confronted with physical harm on a day-to-day basis. So the things that we can touch base on is just look at our ancestors, look at those before us, and see if we can take a little piece of what they left behind and implement it on our daily lives. Scale it down a little bit, make it fit our life, our society, but we have to keep building upon that. Each individual. Therefore, a collective group, rather than rely upon leaders, we can have a bigger impact on today, especially during this year. As you know, it's been it's been a hell of a year, for lack of a better word. So they were a phenomenal group. It's amazing.
Okay.
So, CitizenEdge, what do you think was the ultimate demise of this group to where they didn't come back and continue with their work?
Well, it was definitely, J. Edgar Hoover, FBI, the counterintelligence program, a lot of infiltration that led to shootouts and death, setup, sabotage, and of course, when it leads to that, you start to have internal rifts, as what happened with the Black Panther Party, and with our greatest leaders, you're gonna have the infiltration, you're gonna have the crabs in the barrel effect that's always triggered by the man in charge, the entity that doesn't want for a true Black unity and success to happen. And it was definitely J. Edgar Hoover. He did it in.
All right. So should we move on to the next topic? Kim, do you mind pulling up the topics? Okay, cool. Well, I guess we'll go to the Mulford Act. I know the Black Panther parties obviously had something to do with the initiation of the Mulford Act. So, CitizenEdge, you want to get into that?
Yeah, that was a direct effect. So during the Black Panther Party, their community activism, another part of that was cop watching. They call it cop watching, but it's definitely community security, supervision, surveillance of the police, who still today, of course, have the abuses toward African Americans, ADOS. So the Mulford Act, it put it into the right to open carry, because the cop watching, it wasn't just today where of course, California, we're limited, of course, and we'll get to that in just a minute, to just taking videotape, having our cell phones, going out and about and filming the police. Back then, they didn't have the cell phones, of course, but they actually observed in arms. And that intimidated the police. Of course, the police do not want anybody to have that type of advantage, or they don't want to see their opposition to be equipped and armed to the teeth. And that had a more than effect on, white America. Therefore, the Military Act was passed, putting an end to open carry and putting that facet that was so advantageous for the Black Panther Party. Not only providing the people in the community a sense of security and surety, but the entire initiative really brought it down to its knees. So it was an end to open carry, therefore the right to bear arms, as we know it in California, openly was no more.
Okay. And I think we should also probably mention, I don't know, do you want to go into how the Black Panthers, I know we had a picture up there at the Capitol Mall during that time, but do you want to give the listeners a little bit more information on how the Black Panthers, some use the word storm. I don't like to use that word, but they went in and had the right to bear arms. So do you want to talk about that scenario that happened?
So right after the Milford Act was introduced to Congress, of course, they knew the ramifications for this. So, of course, the Black Panther Party was based out of Oakland. They went to Sacramento on the state capitol and protested it. And so they actually put a contingency plan in to speedline the Milford Act, where it was passed even quicker than it would have been, in a direct effect and response to the Black Panther Party going upon the state capitol steps with rifles in a protest of this bill that at that time was yet to be passed, but they streamlined it, and that was the direct effect of that.
Okay. All right, so I guess let's pull up the next topics on the agenda. I think, let's see, what do we have here? Yeah, so after the Mulford Act, how to acquire a gun in California. Yes.
All right, so how to acquire a gun. We can start from 18 to 20 years old. As long as you have a hunting license, you can purchase any non-semi-automatic, non-centerfire rifle. But once you get to 21 years of age, there are a number of factors that come into play. A lot of things that hold people back, is their record. If you have a felony, for the most part, a felony, if you have on your record, if you have drugs, a background of drugs, that's documented, of course. If you have a mental illness, and a major thing is a domestic case. People don't understand how their proposals, I know domestic cases are very sensitive. It doesn't matter how minor it may be. For example, and I've seen a lot of people get caught up in this. If there's a domestic call to a house, the police must arrest somebody. And it's very dangerous when people have a knee-jerk reaction to that, because it can affect your Second Amendment rights. If you have a domestic offense, you do not have the ability ever to own a firearm. All right, but as you go on to that, a number of things in order to get a firearm, you're going to have in California to take a firearm certificate test or safety test. It's a 30-question test that you must get at least 23 out of 30, or 75%. And based on a test, it's pretty straightforward. It's a test you have to study for, of course, but it's not that detailed. It's really parts of a firearm and basic safety measures. Those who are taking a test, you'll get tested upon the parts of a semi-automatic handgun and a revolver. So long as you know the parts of the gun, you will pass the test. But you need to have proof of residency. And the one thing that no one told me before, the proof of residency is not just a utility bill. It's not just a car registration. It's something other than your California ID, which you will need that in addition as well, your picture ID. But your utility bills cannot be past due. It's really weird. California makes sure that they tax you. The fees are outrageous, but there's a lot of documentation that must be to a T. Because I was there at one time when I first moved to California and bought a firearm here, and I was in a gun store forever, going back and forth to my car. I said, "What are you talking about?" I actually brought out my car registration, which was not up to date, but I had the actual one that was up to date in the vehicle. So I had to go back and forth, stand in line again, so on and so forth. But you will need that, and once you pass the firearm safety course, you will then be able to start the background check. You fill out the federal form, the state form, and after that, this is when you get paid for a firearm. There's a 10-day waiting period. 10 days. It's to address individuals who may have crimes of passion or ulterior motives to do something evil, right, with the firearm. Of course, there's no statistics saying that has any effect whatsoever, but 10 days, 240 hours after you fill out those federal and state forms, it starts the countdown period. And then after, to a T, if you bought a firearm 10 days ago, and right now it was 9:20 p.m. If you bought it at 9:19, they will not release that firearm to you until 9:20 on the dot. It's to the minute and to the second. And those who are going to purchase firearms will find that out firsthand. But those are the requirements for that. The firearms safety certificate is good for 5 years. And it really, like I said, goes over the basic, parts of a gun, basic firearm safety. So it's very important before you purchase a firearm, you know how to handle one, you know to treat every gun as if it's loaded and one bullet's in a chamber. Make sure you have that understanding no matter what. And it's not a toy, of course. And you have that basic understanding, you will have the ability to purchase one. But of course, there's other training that's, I would highly suggest. A comfort level, which I think is the biggest and most overlooked thing, being comfortable with the firearm that you have in your possession, not just in it for looks or what you've seen in video games or movies, but knowing this is a part of you. This is an extension of not only your arm, your hand, but of your life. Make sure that if you do carry a firearm and you do try to acquire other permits, that you do treat it as it should be treated, with the utmost respect and safety measures always kept in the front of your head.
So you mentioned the test. Is there a certain percentage that you have to pass?
Yes, 75%, 23 out of 30 questions, a 30 question test. So 23, yes. And if you get it wrong, they will have you not only take it over, but charge you. The price for that, I believe, is $1. I think. No, $25. But they will charge you again. You will have to take the test over again. But yes, 23 out of 30.
Okay. I don't know if you can disclose this, but what's the price to actually take the test?
The test, I think it's 25 for the test. There are other costs as far as the federal background check in the state. I believe that's around $80 for that, but it's really expensive. It gets expensive. No, actually, that's for the concealed carry. Another story, but yeah, sorry. No, it's concealed carry at $80 for that. So.
And then, can you recommend do they have like a software program, or how do you study for this?
Oh, that's easy.
Do you actually have a course as well that you can provide to the family? Or,
oh, no, just look up, Google parts of a firearm. A semi-automatic, which is this right here, and a revolver, which I don't have a revolver, but just Google that. Google the parts of a handgun, parts of a semi-automatic handgun, and a revolver. And with that alone, and of course safety. Like I said, treat every firearm as if it's loaded, pointing in a safe direction, which is normally down. If you're in a building, it's really down. And your finger off the trigger. With that basic knowledge, you should be able to pass the test. But just Google it. There's no safety course. Of course, they have courses for that, but I don't think it's necessary. But just Google parts of a firearm.
Okay.
Okay, and you mentioned that it's not a toy, which anybody handling a firearm should know that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was curious, looking at a gunshot, I was like, oh, where are the pink pistols? And they said that you cannot sell colored pistols in California. Why is that?
Colored pistols.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's more
I've seen
extravagant.
them sold other places like online, but in California, they said they do not have colored pistols.
Well,
And then
honestly,
also,
yeah,
I'd like you to talk about the fact that there's a shortage going on with,
yeah,
with handguns and ammunition.
yeah. All right, with the colored pistols, I'm not familiar with that. Bright pinks. I have to look into that honestly. I've seen OD green. I've seen the gray and all that stuff. The flat dark earth. But I have to look further into that. I'm pretty sure it's
Okay. Maybe
just
it's a California thing.
California has many
Instead of
laws that you
seeing
will
them other
find.
places.
You'll find many laws in California are strange. I'm not native to California, so I'm still learning the nuances, the little stuff like that. But as far as the shortages, the handgun, the ammo, and it's really the popular ammunition that's in short supply. The 9mm, the 223, the 5.56. But it's panic buying. It's with everything. It's with your everyday products. People have a fear, and it's with every 4 years you see this. When Obama became president, Clinton, Bush, you have the same type of wave. But when you compound that with, you know, these events happening, the Black Uprising, I call it the realization or the revolution that's televised. You have those who control the market who are not in agreement with what's going on. It's not only people panic buying it, it's companies and entities withholding this much needed tool and weapon. So this is a direct reflection of not only the shift in presidency, but of course, not only the pandemic, but the Black Uprising, the realization, the great unpaid debt, inching closer toward that. And that's what's putting everybody in a whirlwind.
Okay, and we have a question here. Is there a process to restore rights?
Yes, there is. I don't have a record. I'm blessed. But I know somebody who has had felonies, who I work with closely, not only on this channel, but at my job. I can definitely link you up to him. He's in Sacramento, and he has himself overcome that. So there is a process, lawyers involved, a lot of due diligence, persistence, going to meetings on time. But yes, it is possible, most definitely.
But you mentioned earlier, just really quickly, you mentioned earlier that if it's a domestic dispute or charge, then that's a deal breaker.
Yeah, that's definitely a nail in a coffin. But if there's any way to get that off your record, expunge it, clear it off, of course that will open up your ability to obtain a firearm. But yes, there are lawyers. Of course, California, it's a very lucrative industry topic. So there's plenty of information. Like I said, I have an individual who's done it firsthand, who definitely I can link you up, and anyone who may be in that position. So,
can people reach you at your email address?
yes, feel free to give it out. CitizenEdgeNation@gmail.com. Citizen singular edge nation@gmail.com. Yes.
All right, we'll make sure that we get the family that information, as well as your YouTube page as well. All right, so I guess go on to the next one, brother. Concealed carry permits.
Yes. Concealed carry permit. I have mine. Honestly, the first rule of thumb with concealed carry permits, because we're on this platform, I like to share information. But the first rule of thumb I tell people, don't tell anybody you have a concealed carry permit. That's the whole idea of having a concealed carry. But one thing in Sacramento, there's California is really a state that does not issue concealed carry permits overall. But it's issued by county, by the sheriff. They have full power if they wish to have a process where they shall issue. Different causations, different levels of cause. You have counties like LA, you have San Francisco County, Alameda. They will not give out permits for concealed carry, period. You'll have to be somebody who is very wealthy, usually a politician in order to be considered for that. There are different tiers. So there's really a 1 to 4 tier. One is the causation, which they don't give out any. It's usually color coded. If you look on a map, a CCW map, it'll be dark burgundy. Then you have another level, which is more about, it's like improbable, where you have to give a great reason to even be considered for an interview. You have heightened. So really 2 to 3. When it gets to green, a light green and green, dark green, which Sacramento County is. Sacramento County is one of the few counties, most of them are in rural areas, that give out concealed carry permits like water, literally. And I'll get to that in just a minute. But with the counties, I think it's Contra Costa as an example. You have to have a great level of causation to even be considered for an interview. For example, I remember when I first moved to California, I lived in San Leandro, and I knew nothing about California. I never knew how expensive it was. I didn't know about the anti-gun, how anti-gun the state was. And I called the county sheriff, and I asked him. I thought I was going to get it. I came from Florida and Michigan. They give out that stuff like crazy. And I asked him, I said, I'm trying to get a concealed carry permit. He said, what? I said, yeah, I want to get a concealed carry permit. What do I have to do? He said, are you serious? I'm looking at the phone, thinking I called the wrong person. This is a representative of the sheriff's department of Alameda County. So I said, yeah, what are you talking about? He said, somebody trying to kill you. And I thought it was a joke. I said, yeah, I'm black. He said, no, it's someone actively trying to kill you. So when I found out, like, he hung the phone up on me, by the way. But what I brought that up is that you have to actually have, say, a restraining order, multiple restraining orders, multiple documented, detailed, not only threats of your life, but actual attempts. Like someone actually broke into your home and said, hey, I'm going to come after you the next day and the next day. You know, really impractical situations where you will not even get a foot in the door for an interview. So basically, these counties will not give out concealed carry permits. But in the counties that do, like Sacramento, like I said, as long as you don't have those things I mentioned on your record, you would have to then, of course, provide documentation. You would have to provide proof of residency. Like I said, you have to provide your California ID, but also utility bill, car registration. You could provide anything that a lease agreement, a property deed. But when you provide utility bills, I found this out, and it's not mentioned anywhere. It has to be up to date. You can't bring a past due bill, which really shocked me. You know, so they make it very hard, even in a county where they give it out, you know, freely. So make sure your bills are paid up. I know it's tough during this time. We're all feeling it, but that's one of the requirements. You do have to make sure that you pay the multiple fees. It cost me overall, honestly, about $400 to get a concealed carry permit with the paperwork, the background checks, the fingerprinting, live scanning. You also got to do 16 hours worth of training. This classroom and range time as well. But the one thing I want to tell everybody that never gets talked about in Sacramento through my experience, I can say this for a video, but I'm going to let my people know the inside scoop when it comes to Sacramento. It takes, usually, if you just go through the motions and you go through this process. I got mine in 2019, and I was slated for like 8 months from the time I first applied till my interview. Not when you get it. It's about 8 months. They give you a date where you go for an interview. And I was like, what the hell? So they don't tell you this when you apply, but I found out because they go through a website called Permitium. It's a website. It's really not through the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office, they actually approve it or not. But the process is a private company. And what happens is that you're giving a order number. and the order number, you're able to log into your profile, and see the schedule of events or the scheduled dates for interviews. And because those stipulations are put in as far as your utility bill, you have to present at the interview. So you have to present it at the interview, and you're holding on to this. So during that time frame, make sure your bills are paid up. There are people who have scheduled appointments ahead of you that for some reason that either their bills are past due, whether they caught a case, whether they opt out for whatever reason, or they were late to our interview. Every time, once you're given that order number, go on that website. I went on that website, the Permidium, every day, and I rescheduled. I saw little slots open and plugged myself in. So I initially had 8 months until I had an interview. But I went on every day for about a month and a half, and I got an interview within 3 weeks of me starting. After that first month, a month and 3 weeks is when I got my interview, when it was initially for 8 months. So the tip, like I said, if you get to that point where you have a clear background, where you pay the fees, and you get the order number, make sure you go on that website every day and look for open spots, because that can save a lot of time, definitely.
Okay, we have a question from
Yes.
the audience here. Do you have to certify in each state that you go to? For example, if you move from Texas to Arizona, do I need a license in each state? And to expand on that, you mentioned that you can get a permit in California, but Contra Costa and some other California cities are a lot tougher. Can you carry between cities, city lines and state lines at all, or not?
Yes, of course you can. All right, check us out. So California is beautiful. So we're blessed to live in Sacramento. This is one of the very few times I tell people you have to vote. You have to vote, because we may get a sheriff that is not who doesn't care about guns, or who's anti-gun, and they're elected officials. But back to the question: if you get a carry concealed permit in California, whatever county, you can go anywhere you want and carry that gun. For the most part, of course, you can't go into government buildings, but yes, you can go into San Francisco. You can cross the Bay Bridge carrying that gun, but make sure no one can see that gun. You give a permit to carry concealed, not a permit to carry. All right. So if they see that gun, that's brandishing. That's a hefty fine, and your gun will be removed. And it's up to the discretion of the police officer. You're in contact with the police officer, and say we had a traffic stop. I know it's going on a tangent, but like I said, you can go anywhere you want. And if you're stopped for whatever reason, whatever city you're in, even if it's a county that doesn't give it out to its residences, you make sure you're required in California, despite what you see on the internet, despite what you may see by other people, you're required, and it says on your concealed carry permit, you are required to tell the police officer that you have a permit and you have a firearm on you. But yes, you can go anywhere you want for the most part.
So state lines too, you can cross state lines?
See, with concealed carry, there's a reciprocity law. Reciprocity. Some states acknowledge California, but California, for example, does not acknowledge any state's concealed carry permit. So, for example, I believe California, they are recognized in, and I have an app here I can find out for you in just a minute. All right, so California is recognized in 29 states. Let me see here. And this is very interesting. So when you go on road trips, you want to, like, for example, let me show you this. If I can put this on the screen here. One moment. Let's just show up. The ones in green, everybody can see that? Mm-hmm. Is the states where California's recognized. Of course, there's one weird state, West Virginia, I think. It's like orange. You have to look into the laws. They're really, in that one particular state, that's a state where they have limitations on how you can carry. I don't know if it's whether you can only go certain places or whatever, but read upon the laws, reciprocity. So there's other states like Utah, and Ohio is the highest reciprocity state, meaning its concealed carry permit is recognized in most states, outside of their home state. We have other states like New York, Illinois, that don't allow anybody anywhere in that state to carry, no matter what state you're from. And little known fact, Puerto Rico, I think, is the only state that recognizes every concealed carry permit. So you can go anywhere you want that recognizes the California carry permit. But within the state of California, you can travel anywhere, any public space.
Okay, but reciprocity is what you need to look
Oh,
up.
yes. Yes.
When you're traveling, make sure.
Most definitely.
All right. Yeah, I have some questions.
Yeah, feel free.
In terms of, but maybe we can get into it at the end.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the federal Second Amendment and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to ask it now, or do you want
Feel free.
wait
Come
till
on,
the end?
I'm an open book.
Okay. All right. So, I guess here, let me pull up the Second Amendment again here real quick. Okay. So in terms of the Second Amendment, as you said, so this is on the federal level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about California in particular, is it because California is so I guess in a way kind of stringent, kind of comparatively speaking to other states? Is California infringing on the Second Amendment rights when it comes to the Second Amendment based on the current laws that are in place?
Yeah, so you don't feel it as much in Sacramento. It's kind of funny. A lot of individuals, a lot of Second Amendment advocates or gun enthusiasts or YouTubers are very hard on California. Me, I'm blessed to be in Sacramento. I moved here for that very reason, to be honest with you. It's all about logistics. I think you have a great advantage for that. But California, yes, as a state, it does infringe upon people's Second Amendment rights because it's simply in a vast majority of the state where the population is the highest, where the crime's the highest, they don't allow you to have it. So most definitely. And it's directly due to the people we elect. You can look at my channel. I'm not pro-Democratic. I'm not pro-Republican. I'm pro my people. You know what I'm saying? So people will say, oh, that's the reason why you should vote Republican. No, it's not. It's the reason why we should, focus on ourselves, our community, raise our own candidates. It takes a long process, yes, but it's a direct reflection on the people who are in power right now. It is what it is. California is known for that, liberal or whatever you want to call it. I don't ride with any party. I'm me, myself, and my people. So, but yes, it's a reflection upon the stereotype, the reality that California is anti-gun, anti a lot of stuff. So.
Okay, so say like you're a security guard, since we're on the topic of concealed weapons. If you're a security guard, right, or you want to be a security guard, and then you want to actually go through the process of, carrying a firearm, because maybe your job is like that's part of your gig, do you still have to go through that whole concealed process in terms of being a security? Like, how does that work in terms of being a security guard?
And no advantage at all. Security guards are just regular citizens. That's it. I'm in the security industry, but you have to go through the same exact process. You get no favoritism whatsoever. Same process that we're just civilians. For civilians in a position where we're in between the appearance of a police officer, but we're private citizens. But the same stipulations, same requirements, we have to go through the exact same ones. There's no difference at all, period.
So they won't even rush your interview?
No. No, not at all. If anything, it holds you back because there's a psychological exam involved as well. So yeah, no. A lot of people who are police officers, well, they're exception. But military individuals, they have a very hard time of getting them. Things, and of course, if you're African American, they're going to question you about a lot of stuff. It's my experience. Even though you filled out, even though your background check show you don't have a record, they ask you have a felony. Why the hell you ask me that? But yeah, it's the same as anybody else. There's no favoritism. You may have insight to the process, but you have no advantage of speeding things up. I'm telling you, if anyone goes through the process of trying to get a concealed carry permit, I will personally assist them. And the most, other than the cost, other than having your ducks in a row as best as you can, with the utility bills and being persistent, it's really rescheduling your meeting, your appointment. I couldn't imagine what is it like to try to apply for a concealed carry permit today. But I'm pretty sure they'll give you any reason to delay you, to stagnate you, to infringe upon you. And it's up to them. It's up to the sheriff. It's up to them whether they want to give it out no matter what. I don't care if you cross every line of questioning or forms. It's up to them whether they say yay or nay. That's it. I had a fortunate experience where it was smooth sailing for me, but that's an anomaly. We all have our experiences with the law and everything else. So I was lucky.
All right, I'm gonna put this I don't know, CitizenEdge, if you could see that. Did you answer that question already?
No, I did not.
I don't know.
No, I didn't. Are there gun restrictions, penalties while traveling to California if someone with me has a felony? So if you're driving in a vehicle or you're traveling with them, okay, if you're within the same room, that goes with storage. Of course they cannot have access to it. That's the same thing with a child, with the felon. It has to be stored unless you have it on your person at all times. It has to be either in a room. This is impractical right here, but it qualifies under this idea of safe storage. If the gun is in a room where it's locked and a person who has a felony or a child cannot enter, that's minimal standard, right? But really, it needs to be in a safe where they can't have access to it. But they can have access to the gun whatsoever. And you're putting yourself in a very bad situation if you don't abide by that.
Okay. All right. I guess let's go on to the next. All right. So we talked about concealed carry permits, gun laws, and I know we could probably, or you could probably have a whole show on gun laws, but let's in particular talk about the Penal Code 32310. Mm-hmm. I know you did mention that on your channel about this penal code, but can you go into it a little bit more in depth and how that actually affects a legal gun carrying citizen?
Yeah, so Penal Code 32310, it places a limitation on the number of rounds in a firearm, whether it's a rifle, whether it's a handgun, to 10, no more than 10. 11 or more, that's against the law. So there was a time in last year, April 2019, every gun owner or everybody's privy to guns in California will know that as Freedom Week, where during a week, the Penal Code 32310 was ruled unconstitutional. And there was a period of time where people could purchase, sell, acquire, import, manufacture standard magazines. So, and I was one of the lucky few. So this is 17 round magazine. If you were to buy this, you would be in big trouble. This is a standard round magazine, 10. But it was during that period. After that period in April, it was made illegal again. I know there was a topic on your channel, which I love. Everybody tune into ADOS. It was a topic talked about Xavier Becerra, the Attorney General. He sucks, man. He was the one that appealed that, and we're still in limbo now, waiting to see if Richard Benitez is going to prevail and make Freedom Week forever, where there won't be a limitation on the number of rounds gun owners in California can have in their firearm. And this is a direct result to the the politicians, people who we vote for to a degree, their fear that any magazine above 10 rounds is going to motivate or have a significant factor if a person wants to have any ill will using a firearm, committing a crime. And like I said before, there's no scientific proof or no test that shows the limited magazine, the types of guns, which we can talk about later if we have time, where they try to limit the features on a rifle and the limitations of how many bullets you have in a gun. It does not factor into a decrease on criminal acts or mass murders that they're so fearful of. And it's just crazy because you hear that happening all the time. All these laws passing, which has nothing to do with the other. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. People who are making these laws know nothing about firearms. It's not the gun, it's the people. So, yeah.
So I guess on that note, I know in terms of the penal code, right? What would be the purpose of having, for example, more than you say it's a 10
round
mag,
limitation,
10 round mag, right? So what would be the purpose of having more than 10 rounds as devil's advocate?
Cool.
More than why would that be necessary?
Well, there was an example this morning in Sacramento. I think it was off McAllister. There was 2 men at 4 a.m. this morning murdered. 2 grown men. All right, that's one example. I did a video on my channel. Did a random day. Looked in the cities of LA, Detroit, Atlanta, Houston. Just random situations where there were individuals, multiple individuals, where situations would cause. If you want to place a limitation on your life and say that you have 10 rounds, no matter what happens in your life, you're in an area which you're subjected to a lifestyle which is impoverished. You're not have the opportunity to live in an area where it's nothing but gated windows or high crime area, and you're doing your very best to make it to your job, be the best person you can be, but you're subjected to this area because you're black and something happens. Would you put your life on the line and here's 10 bullets when people know that nobody's coming to your door with a hammer or a revolver? They come with AKs and Dracos, bro. You're gonna need more than 10 rounds to deal with the program. You know what I'm saying? Defend your wife, your life, your daughter, your son, your infant, your mom, your grandma.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to ask that question because just from kind of a common sense, I would think you obviously want more.
Hey, ask Kenneth Walker that question.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said ask Kenneth Walker that question. Someone knocking on your doors. I dealt with that recently too. But yeah, just it's a different world we're living in. And what's if the reason why they put this law into play is not working, why are they enforcing it? Why criminals don't obey laws? Criminals aren't looking on these laws and saying Penal Code 32310, 25850. I'll make sure that when I rob this old lady over here, I'll make sure I have only 10 rounds of my gun. No. They come with extendos and they wiping everybody out. And I just on the stereotype, I'm talking about there's other things happening. People, mass murders, people coming in with these big heavy rifles, and Las Vegas shooting, he's spraying everybody down in Las Vegas over that concert, and that church is crazy. Charleston,
yeah. That mass shooting in where is that in the Bay, near the Bay Area at the Garlic Festival?
Yeah, that was near San Jose, I think.
Gilroy,
there we go.
Where
That's
Garlic
crazy.
Festival is. So there has been a uptick in gun violence throughout California. You say don't blame it on the guns, blame it on the people. We just had another shooting on Black Friday.
The Artie Mall, right?
Boys were killed, right? And the Mayor Daryl Steinberg came out with a statement that said guns are never the answer. What's your reply to that?
See, these are situations where people are placing blame. Like I said, if you fail a test, do you blame the person who took the test or the pencil? So they're blaming the pencil, the tool. It's the person behind it. They need to address the issue: mental illness, lack of opportunity. Um, those are the issues that need to be addressed, not guns. You know, the Garlic Festival, you had families out there. And Gilroy, if I recall correctly, like I said, it's a suburb or it's not too far from San Jose. And I would imagine, if I looked at my map, they don't allow guns there. You know, a lot of these mass shootings are in places where they don't allow guns. You have schools. That's a no gun zone, no matter what state you're in. You have back in the day there were people who were getting shot up in postal offices, or they're getting shot up in like I said, gun safe zones. People were getting picked off left and right. And I would say, you know, like the clubs, that churches, you know, places where guns aren't allowed. If I would imagine if one person was at every scenario, you would have an attempt to preserve life in each case. I would imagine. When have you heard of you know, a person getting shot up, a mass shooting at Walmart, in Sacramento or whatever? It doesn't freaking happen. Not too often. But in places where they outlaw guns. And, it's common sense to me. They try to see gun laws provide a new income stream. Look at all these. It takes $400 to get a concealed carry permit in a county which is so-called gun friendly. And those who are anti-gun, it's not that a person doesn't have a concealed carry permit in LA County or in Sampson County. These are people who are paying and who are paying the sheriff, donating to their charity, judges, and everything else. Money's flowing in, and they're putting African Americans, the lower class, whatever you want to call it, at a disadvantage. And they're allowing for the criminals to have an advantage over these innocent populations.
So the age-old argument, the criminals are still going to get guns.
Yeah, exactly. They're not looking at these laws. They don't care. Matter of fact,
all right.
Yeah, they use it to their advantage. Oh, I'm gonna go to San Francisco. I'm gonna go to LA and drive by. They don't go and They don't do drive-bys out, in areas where it's gun friendly. So it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense to me. But we already know what's going on. It's money, power is what is keeping us down. That's it.
All right. Well, it looks like we're coming to the end of the program. I guess let's go back in the chat to see if we have any particular comments.
We have a question here. I mean, since you talk about gun safety, where these guns are coming from, how are they getting into the hands of the criminal, these illegal street guns? They're obviously not jumping through all the hoops to get weapons.
Right, exactly. So it goes back to the question, who makes the guns? We don't. People who are utilizing these guns and doing these acts, they are not manufacturers. The manufacturer, the serial number is stamped on each gun. How are they getting in there? We don't have boats. We're not driving trucks across from Mexico or whatever direction they are coming from. We're not rolling them out of the assembly line from gunny manufacturers like Glock and, Anderson and all these other companies. We're receiving them. They're literally falling into our laps, just like how the drug epidemic, crack epidemic. We don't have the poppy fields, so same old thing. It's a different tool, same story.
And here we have another quick question, playing devil's advocate. Britain and other places make it difficult to own guns by making it time-consuming and expensive, like getting an abortion, etc. and this results in less gun deaths. What are your thoughts on that correlation?
This is not Britain, period. It works in Britain. Look at places right now. Look at places like LA. Look at Chicago. We have that example. Make it impossible to, get guns. They're still coming in. That doesn't stop the problem.
And I guess if Kim, if you want to keep posting these questions, we still got about a minute or two in it, so we'll go over a little bit because I think this is
a minute or two. Well, my question,
Yes,
quick question is, since you seem to think gun safety is the key to being able to handle a firearm responsibly, would that be a lucrative business right now, helping people to get certified? Is it something you could go into, being a certified gun safety trainer?
Yeah, my motto on my channel is alert, safe, and smart. It's not just gun safety; it's knowledge. Like I said, it's the comfort level. One thing I always advocate people is to always go to the gun range. It's not just to get a better grip, a better line of sight, a better target, but it's hearing the gunshots. It sounds weird, but when I went through a recent situation where there was a shooting in my neighborhood, I wasn't fazed by that. Gave the gun to my wife, had them go into the tub. I went out there with my rifle. You're used to that. So it's not only gun safety, it's being comfortable with your weapon and what that weapon is used for. That is the key. Knowledge, getting a comfort level, and of course the rudimentary understanding of gun safety. That's the key to it. Of course, like I said, there's mental health aspects of it, but it's not the weapon, it's the individual, whether that individual has their acumen or does not.
All right, Kim, are there any other questions as you can see in the comments, or is that about it?
I think that's
Okay.
the gist of it.
Well, brother, I definitely, if you're interested, I definitely like to have you come back on the show again, because I want to go deeper into the NRA and also, like, for example, I think they were called the Black Deacons for Defense.
Oh yeah.
And we could start getting a little bit more into the history of Black people and how to defend ourselves in the Second Amendment. If you would like that, appreciate it.
I will appreciate the opportunity again. And everybody, get out of the NRA like I did. Go into NAGA, the National African American Gun Association. We can talk about that later, but it's hit me up. Subscribe to ADOS, subscribe to me. We can go further into it, but I will love the opportunity to come back on this platform. Yes.
Okay, appreciate it. All right, fam. I think that's about it. Kim, do you have any questions or comments?
Well, just one last thing here. Just want to remind you, the audience, to join us on Tuesday, 9 p.m. for AB 3121 task force discussion. Kind of see what the next steps are on that bill and where we go as far as choosing the task force. And Umoya, if you wanted to go over the production housekeeping.
All right, so once again, family, if you need any show intros, outros, voiceover, script copy, 15 and 30-second promos, hit us up. We can get it back to you. 48 business day turnaround, obviously bearing any other technical issues. But yes, we can do that for you. So please send an email to ADOSCA Media Group. That's ADOSCA Media Group at gmail.com. And I think CitizenEdge, we did put your email in the comment section and your YouTube.
We did.
Cool. Are you on like any other platforms outside of YouTube?
Yeah, primarily YouTube, but I'm on every platform. CitizenEdge, same name. Pretty straightforward. Yep.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want to say? Give us some wisdom, advice before we log out.
Any parting shots?
Yeah, just stay alert, safe, and smart, people. I'm telling you, stay alert, safe, and smart. That's all I can say. Be an example. Share your wisdom. learn something every day and share something every day. That's it.
All right. So please like, share, and subscribe. Go check out CitizenEdge on his YouTube. Subscribe to his page. Subscribe to Media Group. And this is a great build, great show. Yep, CitizenEdge in the building. All right, fam, we out.
Yes, sir.
See you next time.
Appreciate
See you
it.
too.